Hello and welcome to another edition of the Falcon Crest Aftershow here on JLJ Media. I'm your host, James Lott Jr. And I want to thank everyone who comments and likes or doesn't like my show. Just like a soap opera, it's been wonderful. I've been getting such great comments about the show and that I brought them, bring attention to the show. And also there are folks who don't like it and who happily criticize the way I'm doing the show and what I'm choosing to do. I don't mind. That's fine. You could not like it. No one else is doing a show on Falcon Crest, just me. So it's either watch or don't watch. I totally understand. But I'm the only person doing a show on Falcon Crest at the moment. So I invite you to continue to watch, continue to criticize if you like or like it. And you may find episodes you might like maybe this one. You may like this episode. Who knows? But I do love the show, and I'm trying to give you a really good show. And I hope that I continue to do this for a long time because I love the show. It's a 40-year anniversary when it debuted, and I just that's why I said something. And I love doing the show. So for me, it's fine. All comments are welcome and accepted. Please, let's keep the conversation going. And if there's something you don't see on this app show you want to see, let me know. Tell me what you want me to talk about. And I'm trying to get guests on the show. And I'm highlighting what I like as we go along. I plan on doing the show for a long time, so there's gonna be more and more stuff coming out. So thank you for listening and watching. Those who are doing that. As you saw from the title, I want to talk about the importance of Lance Cumson, the character, and Lorenzo Lamas, the actor, on Falcon Crest and in the soap opera primetime world. Lorenzo Lamas, of course, is of Hispanic descent, Latino descent. His father is the famous Fernando Lamas, who's Argentinian, and his mother is Arlene Dahl, who's American. So he's mixed race, Latino. For the soap time period, we're talking this is the 80s. This is the early 80s and mid 80s and late 80s, late 80s, but in the early 80s. There weren't folks that looked like him on primetime soaps. Not in a way as a leading man. If you guys remember this, Lorenzo Lamas as Lance was on every season. He was a main character. He's the only actor, I learned this when I was reading up on him, he's the only actor who appeared on all 227 episodes. I was thinking, so other people came and left. So it wasn't, he was the only one from beginning to the end. For those guys who need a little lesson, he was Julia's son, Angela's grandson. Married several times, and funny way to Melissa, Pilar Ortega, my girl Cristal Alfonso, and Lorraine. And the thing about Lance, he started out as this irresponsible playboy, but the character had an actual storyline, a character arc. He grew from just that into a businessman, to a caring husband. He fell in love. When he lost his child with Lorraine while he was in jail, that's a whole other story. There's a scene, there's several scenes I remember where he really got to use his acting chops and show that he was more than just the pretty boy. Angela Channing, who played by the wonderful Jane Wyman, she loved her grandson. She loved Lance. She could be hard on him too, but she loved him. She was a true grandmother to me on television to Lance. And then that's all the story too. But Angela Channing being a grandmother, there were people who had grandkids, but they were young. On the other soaps, on this soap, the soap started with her being a grandmother to a young playboy, to an adult, basically. And it didn't diminish Angela Channing's rankings or status or whatever anyway, but it worked. The other soaps didn't have that. If they had grandchildren, they were babies or they were kids. This is one show where it's a fully grown person as a grandson. But I just remember the scene where they're he's sitting there and he's upset. He wants to get out of jail to help Lorraine go through the loss of their child. And Angela is really caring and considerate and supportive, and she's trying to comfort him. And and you can see the chemistry between the two of the actors. They just seem so like grandmother and grandson. Like it wasn't like father son, mother son, or like whatever. It seemed like for me, I love my grandmothers, so it was very grandmother grandsonly. Is my word, but that's how I felt about that. And there was times throughout the series where she tried to comfort him for things or be there for him for stuff and support him uh, very much. And I just love that. Also, this is a whole nother story, of course, but Melissa Grenny, a character that I'll talk about another show because that's a whole other show about her. I felt they completely ruined the chance of her being an all-time soap villain diva of full recognition. And then I think it was season 4, they kind of messed stuff up. But it's like it's something where I felt the potential for Melissa was huge, and the actress Anna Alicia was so good playing her. And one of the examples of how great she was when Lance and Melissa got married. And at the wedding, they're trading barbs. The dialogue is fast and furious. They're trading barbs. And she announced at the end that she's actually pregnant. And I ain't his child. He's like, it's not my child. She's like, it don't matter. She's clawing her hooks into him. And because he wants an annulment, she's like holding her to hold on. And it was such a deliciously soap scene that it just showed how great she was, but how Lance was with her. Like, okay, I'm on to you, blah blah. The wedding was a big deal. Remember, it was a big deal. But it was fun. It was a fun thing. And I just look again, two people who normally you didn't see their type on television. Um, it just happened to be a soap storyline with them in it. I love that Lance is half Latino. He was considered a heartthrob. Many of you guys, I mean, I'm old enough to remember, of course, but he was treated as a heartthrob, especially in America, and I'm sure around the world too. This is where he got famous. He did a show Leonard Car Renegade, now it's nothing too, but this is where he got famous. This show made him famous. And a lot of the people that were famous at the time, men, were blonde, mostly white, had a certain look. But he was not, and he wasn't relegated just to the Latin lover stereotype either. They didn't do that either with him. They treated him as just part of the family. And where other soaps may have done more played up on stuff. And there were daytime was done like that at that time. It's the early 80s. And with him, he came on screen, he had the chiseled jaw, he had the deep voice, he had the great body and all the looks. So I just thought that was great because we didn't follow what was the trends that were going on back then. Because back in the early 80s, it was all about sun-kissed Southern California white boys, basically. It was all, blonde and wispy and no hair and, all that kind of stuff. And the 80s ushered in a little different time. We got Magnum PI later, the mustache and that. I mean, it started to change a little bit. And I thought for soap reasons, because on Dallas, there were no Latino or half Latino leads. Not slanting, there wasn't. And Crest, and Dynasty, there wasn't. They added some people a little later, but not at that time. He was like really the only one. And they didn't play up on that side either. He said his name was just Lance Cumson. It was a regular. He's a Giaberti, so it's kind of the whole Italian thing. But I just thought there's an importance there. We shouldn't forget that he literally represented something different on television without it being this big deal. It is. I want to give him a shout out to Lorenzo Lamas to be able to do that and the folks at Falcon Crest. But his character went from playboy, irresponsible, young, and grew into a man throughout the course of the series, to someone who was strong. He said he owned several businesses, he was running things, and he completely was not just a lackey for anybody else or a sidekick. He was on his way, and I thought he had meaningful relationships, and him and his Aunt Emma were very close, and I loved that his character was like that. So I want to give appreciation to Lance, and importance of Lorenzo Lamas on Falcon Crest. I'm James Lott Jr. You can follow this podcast on any streaming service, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and on YouTube on my network, JLJ Media. Subscribe, follow, like, and comment. Please comment. Please tell me your comments. Tell me what you think. Let's continue the conversation. And thanks to all the Falcon Crest Facebook groups. I love you guys for letting me post it in there. You guys comment and like and subscribe. So thank you so much for that. You pass it on to anybody else. And I'll see you next time.